Right now, Southern California residents are preparing for what will likely be a once-in-a-lifetime tropical storm landfall event. I'm going to give you all the info you need and why it's happening about tropical system Hilary. That includes clarification on flooding, strongest winds, tropical tornadoes, and even wildfire smoke. You'll want to pay attention to all of that depending on where you're at. But at the same time, the Atlantic Ocean is heating up with several noteworthy tropical waves. And of course, we're going to talk about the dreaded heat dome in the United States, which will be bringing the hottest temperatures of the summer to many of you over this next week. Meteorologist Andy Hill here at the forecasting desk. Here's my in-depth look at Hurricane Hilary. This is Hurricane Hilary off the coast of Baja California as of the morning of August 19th. I actually forecasted its track a week ago in the video before this one on my channel, so this is an important piece of forecast verification for what I do here on this channel as this swings off to the north. So let's focus on now, starting with Hilary's upcoming track and who's gonna get what. This cone of uncertainty from the National Hurricane Center contains the most likely tracks within the cone itself. As of the latest update, this cone is for a now weakening Category 3 hurricane, which did peak as a mid-Category 4 with winds of up to 145 miles per hour further south in the eastern Pacific Ocean. What this path means is that upon arrival to Southern California and the northern Baja California coast, Hilary is expected to be an upper-end tropical storm. That's what this S means here in the black circle. And that's in terms of wind speed on midday Sunday into the evening of Sunday, August 20th. Upper-end tropical storm means roughly 60 to 70 mile-an-hour winds are going to be found at the core of the system, which is about equal to a severe thunderstorm. Thereafter, from this cone, we can assume that it will continue to degrade, literally being shredded apart by the force of friction at the surface in the interior California and even into Nevada, where it becomes a remnant low. Essentially, that means that when it's here in this track midday on Monday, it will be nothing but an organized area of showers and maybe a stiff, fresh breeze. After that, if the National Hurricane Center does issue more forecast updates for the track of the remains of Hilary, it will bend to the east along the Canada-U.S. border. So at that point, the group of rain showers will speed up through Nevada while also encountering plenty of dry air, and that will prevent dramatic flooding from occurring as Hilary moves off to the north and then to the northeast. So that'll be the case as the rain continues through Boise, Idaho, and then along the U.S.-Canada border through the week, as you saw highlighted in this video's thumbnail, up this direction. I find it unlikely, but not impossible, that Hilary reaches land as a Category 1 hurricane on the weaker side. But that will probably only happen if it swings into making landfall on the northern Baja California coast, probably to the south of Tijuana. So if you live in the urban stretch along the Pacific coast here, or you know somebody who does, you're not expecting the windstorm of a lifetime, and you are going to be let down if you are expecting that. The worst of the winds will actually be in the higher elevations in the mountains and foothills in particular. This is where they will encounter the least friction further up in the atmosphere away from the surface. The strongest winds will also be felt on the eastern side of the circulation, highlighted in these areas of pink and purple. This corridor is where the movement of Hilary to the north, or the translational speed of the system, will be added to the rotational winds that are circling around Hilary in this fashion. So this graphic of expected wind speeds from National Weather Service San Diego highlights both things pretty well. We have the lack of friction contributing to stronger winds offshore, and also beginning to see that in the mountains, but we also see the translational plus rotational wind speeds resulting in up to 80 mile-an-hour wind gusts to the east of some of the mountains here into parts of the Mojave Desert. With every single hurricane that occurs, flooding will always be the worst impact by far, and that's despite localized wind damage that you may have seen from hurricanes past. The flooding that occurs as a result of this storm will stun you, and I don't mean that lightly. Here's the reason why we're expecting such a bad flooding event with this system. This chart looks at integrated vapor transport, or IVT for short, or literally the movement of moisture from one spot to another by the winds. My trained eye picks out the unfortunate flooding contributor here. You can see this area of moisture spreading out in the region of the Mojave Desert, Las Vegas, and western Arizona well before the storm even arrives. In the near term, this will work in tandem with a trough just off the coast of California. This is creating a bunch of rising air out in front of the system and also helping to drive Hilary to the north like this. The reason why? Air flows counterclockwise around the trough into the path of Hilary. Out ahead of this trough, where Hilary is going to travel, the air is diverging literally 2 to 4 miles above your head. It's going apart. And where this air is diverging apart, that means air at the surface must rise to replace it. And all of that air that's rising is chock full of moisture from Hilary turning up the East Pacific. Thus, looking at those maps, we can conclude in agreement with the Weather Prediction Center that day one today, Saturday, saturates a lot of Southern California, Southern Nevada, and Western Arizona, and then it's going to continue to rain upon Hilary's arrival tomorrow, August 20th, which is when we have a maxed out risk for flash flooding for parts of the Mojave Desert into the southern Joaquin Valley and the high here. So the high risk for excessive rainfall or flash flooding tomorrow is in the pink, and it is surrounded by also a 3 out of 4 or a moderate risk in red for excessive rainfall. That moderate risk does include much of the urban corridor from San Diego up through Los Angeles and Ventura counties, and down the line it also includes the Las Vegas metro area as well. What this means is that from Santa Barbara up through Bakersfield and Fresno and to the east, and from the state line through Vegas and west, this corridor in particular will see an unbelievable amount of rain from this system. Urban and densely populated areas are at a higher risk from the widespread 2 to 4 inches of rain to fall with this system in the reds and oranges here. But again, even with that in mind, if you do end up feeling let down by the amount of rainfall that falls in LA, Orange County, Ventura County, what you really should be doing is thinking of your neighbors that are going to get a lot more from this storm. So who are those neighbors? I am personally, as a Southern California native, most concerned about Palm Springs, Victorville, and Lancaster in Southern California in this region. These are areas that are along or just north or east of the coastal mountain ridge lines here. Those areas are where winds will flow from west to east around Hilary, meaning that when Hilary is making landfall in Southern California or close to it, the winds will be drawn into it like this, up the mountain slopes from the north and from the east. As very humid tropical air is forced up the sides of mountains, it will condense into clouds and produce a mind-numbing amount of rainfall in these areas. That alone is the reason why the rainfall forecast from the National Weather Service San Diego looks like this, where these areas in darker reds and purples are experiencing upslope flow and may see rainfall amounts from 5 to 10 inches or more. Please be ready for mudslides and debris flows to block roads in any hilly or mountainous roadside passes. Travel will be the worst thing by far about this storm system in this area of Southern California, followed by power outages induced by those mudslides or debris flows, or just excessive rainfall. Agriculture will also take a hit in the southern extent of the San Joaquin Valley, where almond and raisin crops especially are at risk to spoilage due to the flooding that will occur over there. With all of those things together, let me emphasize to you that the best thing you can do with the system heading towards Southern California is be aware of it, and be aware of impacts to life all around you, even if they don't happen to you directly. I think that's the most important takeaway here. Now, onto the wild side of Hilary. Tropical tornadoes in the desert. Just about the wildest thing I can say to you this year is that there will be supercells in the Mojave Desert up through Las Vegas on Sunday during the daytime. So on Sunday during the daytime, that will be earlier to the south for Mexicali and Yuma, and later on in the day further north up to Las Vegas. And the reason this is in place is because practically 99.9% of tornadoes relating to a tropical system, whether it's a hurricane or a tropical storm, will occur in the front right quadrant of the storm. So imagine this is the center of the storm right here. Relative to its path to the north, the front right quadrant will be in this region up here. In this quadrant, this is where the winds will change in speed and direction as you go up in the atmosphere in a favorable manner for spinning up tornadoes. You can kind of see the shape of supercells in this region right here, put out by the model. The 2% tornado risk in particular in green here, I think has a good chance at being upgraded as we get closer to the day tomorrow. And that's since all that moisture supply for supercells will already be in place, given what we covered earlier. That moisture is being transported into this region today and will still be in place tomorrow. So what else can she do? Well, Hilary is actually going to make it smoky for the Pacific Northwest, including Seattle, Vancouver, and even Portland and Oregon. You see, as Hilary disrupts the upper air pattern on her approach from the south, winds above your heads over here in the Pacific Northwest will actually calm and even shift out of the northeast. This means the fires in eastern Washington and near Kelowna in British Columbia will actually shift all of their smoke toward the coast for a while. You can expect smoke as a result at the end of the weekend through the start of next week at minimum here. And with that smoke comes no rain for much of the Pacific Northwest, as Hilary's remains will curve off around our giant ridge in the central U.S. in this direction. Hopefully, wildfire relief rain will sweep through with unsettled weather in British Columbia and Alberta in the middle of this coming week from a separate system up here. So given that separate system, I'm really crossing my fingers that aids in firefighting relief up there in British Columbia and eastern Washington state. Numerous homes have already been lost in some of those fires, so we really need that relief to come through. Overall, I can't believe I've been saying some of the things I've said so far in this video, but we're not done. We now have 4 areas of interest in the Atlantic Ocean for potential tropical development. We have an apple out in the central Atlantic, a lemon in between, and 2 oranges further west here for the Lesser Antilles and also the Gulf of Mexico. Will any of these storms do something important? Well, I can answer that with a good amount of confidence based on this map here depicting bulk wind shear. And that bulk wind shear is detailing about a mile up to about 8 miles above your heads in the ocean. A week out from now, this ensemble solution comes together to show us a band of enhanced westerlies through much of the Gulf and southeastern states. Anything in the green or hotter colors is hostile to tropical storm development and maturation. Thus, impacts from any of these areas of interest that we noted will be reduced to a storm developing right along the Texas coast and flooding concerns for weaker systems that might move through some of the Lesser Antilles. This ensemble solution from the European model also shows a similar setup for a week out for added forecast confidence, maybe with even a little bit more shear in this same region. So both of these storms in our weaker shear areas could be significant if they do develop, as the Lesser Antilles have had significant flooding events in the past, and Texas certainly wants some relief, seeking rain this summer. I know you guys need that rain up there, so I'm hoping it gets to you in a non-destructive manner. Whichever storm forms next will be Emily, followed by Franklin, Gert, and Harold. And while the waters are certainly hot down here in the Gulf of Mexico for any storm development, you want to know what's even hotter? The air, especially in the central and northern plains this coming week. A large area of high pressure aloft, previously affecting the southern U.S., is going to expand northward this week. From Sunday throughout the whole week, many cities in the central U.S. will experience temperatures challenging long-standing daily, even monthly records. So here's that high pressure aloft about 3.5 miles above your head, bringing all that heat in the dark reds to the browns in the central states. The reason these colors are showing up is because in the vicinity of a high pressure aloft, a bunch of air will be pushed up above the high pressure system, but also it will be pushed down underneath that high pressure system. So imagine this high right here, this H is about 3.5 miles above your head. All that air is actually being forced up above it and down, sinking below it. With that downward sinking motion, as it sinks, it compresses, which means that it will warm up. And if we look at the surface pressure map here, just to confirm that, we can actually see not really that much high pressure except on the northern periphery of the ridge, near the Canadian border. We actually get some low pressures in general here in the central states. These are heat-induced low pressures right in here that don't really show up too well. But these heat-induced low pressures are actually not going to bring about any unsettled weather, no rain for the weary. In fact, it will feel like over 100 degrees for all of Missouri, Arkansas, eastern Nebraska, eastern Kansas, eastern Oklahoma, eastern Texas, and the southeast states for basically the entire week. Some areas, especially focused near and along a front right in this region, will get into the 110s Fahrenheit once you factor in humidity. This is because all that moisture is actually going to pile up against the front, so you can see those temperatures really heating up for Omaha, Kansas City on Sunday afternoon. Some possible feels like temperatures will be above 115 degrees Fahrenheit here. This same front actually brings relief for parts of the northern plains and the northern Midwest on Sunday. But then it betrays us as it transitions from a cold front on that day back into a warm front and lunges back to the north. And it's going to stay up here for the Twin Cities, southern Wisconsin, and Chicago for the week. Also, at this point, the heat starts to move to the east, through the Ohio and Tennessee valleys, as well as the rest of the Midwest, including southwestern Michigan and a lot of the mitten in general. So that push to the east leaves all of our friends still cooking in the Central Plains west, while also starting to include everybody in those regions through the middle of the week. I mean, looking at this map, I'm sorry I can't say much else besides the fact that it will be downright miserable for a lot of us, so please make sure you're staying hydrated. There are winners, though. The Northeast and Southern Ontario will relish in their comfortable temperatures and humidity as well this week upon the arrival of a minor backdoor cold front. So there's that cold front coming through there. You can kind of see it showing up. This may bring about isolated thunderstorms as it traverses New England, but nothing prompting an organized severe weather threat as it stands. Before then, it will be pretty toasty for parts of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, and Maryland on Sunday and Monday. But that front is going to swing on through on Tuesday and keep it mild for a while for everyone over here. Enjoy, y'all, from the rest of us in the desert. I just set up YouTube memberships on this channel. If you want to support me directly, you can do so by clicking the join button here. My memberships are not complex. In the first tier, you get to stand out to me and others, and that means I'll answer your questions more directly, simply put. And for the second tier, you will get a shout out in videos and also at the end of live streams. Your name will show up on the stream. Straightforward, easy. That's all there is to it if you like my meteorology. I appreciate you regardless. And with that, I sincerely hope this video served you well with logic, science, and reasoning. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.